All right, well, welcome everybody to our first candidate chat with Pull the Vote, pullthevote.com. And today we have Jayden Speed, who is running for state senator here in Nebraska for Legislative District 2. And Jayden, first of all, I want to thank you because when we opened up our new candidate poll platform just a little bit ago, you were our first candidate that we had represented on the platform. And here you are again, first candidate for being on our Saturday morning chat session. So thank you very, very much for coming and visiting with us.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, Heather. I'm happy to answer folks' questions and engage with the people of Nebraska and the voters in District 2.
Perfect, thank you. Well, for those that don't know Pull the Vote, I'm a teacher here in Omaha with this crazy idea to create a software platform that sits between us and our elected officials and our candidates and allows us to engage in a new way, be able to learn who our candidates are throughout the entire season without any pressure or negativity, and really be able to offer people a new way to run for office. You know, as we all know, it's incredibly expensive, and I was really looking for a way for working class, normal people to volunteer, or in some ways they might get paid a little bit, but it's still volunteerism. Don't count that wrong, but I'm really hoping that our platform can solve that need. As I mentioned, we just opened up our new candidate portal. You can see Jayden Speed is on the left-hand side. We also just engaged with click to call and click to email, and you can also favorite and heart your candidates that you want to support. Here at Pull the Vote, we are nonpartisan. We are a neutral party, and we have representatives and constituents from all across the political spectrum. So we're really excited about bringing people to the table to talk. So without further ado, Jayden, let's talk a little bit about inside your candidate page here on Pull the Vote. You are running a poll called LD2, I want to hear from you. And you are having your LD2 residents respond. So today it's all about getting together and talking a little bit about what are your constituents saying and some of the questions that they're asking you. So for those that have taken the poll or haven't, one of the questions that Jayden wanted to ask is, hey, here's my priority issue topics. What are your most important 3 from my list? And we can see the results that are coming in pretty strong in civil rights and liberties and public school. So Jayden, I'll throw it back to you. What do you think about these results?
Yeah, I think this has been a really good way to hear from folks in our district. Folks, we've been talking about public schools a lot, and public schools are really important to Nebraskans, especially rural Nebraskans. It's often said that a public school is the centerpiece of a small town. A lot of the towns in my district, Weeping Water, Louisville, Plattsmouth, their public school means a lot. It's where folks go for Friday night games, it's where they go for concerts, where them and their kids got their education. So our public schools are really important in Nebraska. And we have seen kind of 2 issues arising over the last few years. One of them's been more prevalent over the decades. So the first is the school funding question, and that's been a question for 20, 30 years or so now. And the fact that our schools are very reliant on property taxes. So to me, I've been talking to a lot of folks about how do we make sure that at the state level, we're supporting our public schools with the funds that they need. So I think we have to look at increasing foundation aid to our public school districts. How can we provide them with the resources that they need? The second thing that's kind of emerged over the last few years has been kind of this politicization of our public schools. And the fact that we're seeing more and more political attacks on our schools and on our teachers, and that's really a sad thing. But in District 2 in Plattsmouth, we had a school board member back in 2023, 2024, that was elected kind of on this message of she was going to get in there and she was going to go through the books in the library and take out the things that she didn't agree with. So she developed a list of 52 books that she wanted pulled from the shelves and banned from the Plattsmouth School District. And included in that list was things like The Handmaid's Tale, things like Kurt Vonnegut, things that juniors and seniors in high school have been reading for required reading for decades now. So she really went after a wide array of literature. And the things that it had in common was it critiqued her worldview, had topics that she thought were inappropriate. But it was really kind of this manifestation in rural Nebraska and in our district of this kind of culture war, national politics that we're seeing across the country. So for me, I was somebody that led the campaign to recall her, to get her off the school board. We won in rural Nebraska with 62% of the vote. The majority of voters in that election were registered Republicans. The majority of people that signed the petition to recall her were registered Republicans. So it's not necessarily a partisan issue, but it's supporting our public schools and making sure that we have this freedom of thought in our schools. So for me in the legislature, we're also seeing kind of bill after bill that chips away at public schools, that divert money to private schools, or that kind of go after our teachers or librarians for the curriculum or the books in the library. I think we got to fight back against that, and we have to protect our public schools and our educators. And I think that's what voters of all parties in both urban and rural Nebraska want us to do.
It's a great example, and I know that was a platform that you championed for the community. Any thoughts on the civil rights and liberty, since that is, the number one resulted area that people came together and reported out to you?
Yeah, I think this also of what we're seeing the last several years, where the legislature has really dug into cultural issues, ways we can divide people, ways we can split people up into different groups and pit them against each other. And that's not what Nebraskans want. Nebraskans want you to focus on how are you going to make people's lives better. But the legislature has really dug into, let's pick a few people to single out and discriminate against. So for me, it's a question of American values. It's a question of freedom. Liberty and justice for all is in our Pledge of Allegiance. So for me, I think that when we talk about freedom, we also talk about government shouldn't be in your doctor's office. Government shouldn't be in your school library. They shouldn't be telling you how to raise your kids. Government take a step back and let you decide for yourself how you want to live your life, who you want to love, what books you want to read, what healthcare decisions you want to make.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that summary with your constituents. Another question that we pulled out was just the overall feeling about if they felt the current seated state senators responsive to them. And I know you have a story to tell in regards to this.
Yeah, so I'm on Main Street in Plattsmouth, and this was early on in the campaign. I was out talking to folks, and a gentleman came up to me. He's an older gentleman, and the two of us are probably pretty far apart in terms of political ideology. He told me first thing that he gets the majority of his news from Charlie Kirk. But we found common ground around the fact that, one, he voted for medical marijuana and the legislature was trying to overturn that. And two, that he had written and called and emailed to our current state senator and had never received this response back. He voted for our current state senator twice. He's voted with that party his entire life, and they still weren't responsive to him. And I think that's what we're seeing for a lot, that our state senators aren't necessarily concerned with the voters back home and serving the voters back home. They seem increasingly concerned with doing the governor's bidding, doing partisan bidding, doing bidding of corporations and the wealthy, but not really caring about everyday Nebraskans. So I think what we're seeing on the ground when we talk to people is this consensus across ideology and partisanship that we want state senators that are going to be responsive, that are going to focus on the will of the people. And I think I can be somebody, if elected, that will provide that to the voters in District 2.
Very good, very good. And I know we asked a follow-up question to this. How do you want to be communicated to by your state senator? And it's ironic that when we first created Poll the Vote, it was due to constituent communication desire from our elected officials. But your elected, or excuse me, your participants in this particular poll said, they want town halls, they want in person, they want you to use the digital communication to reach them in real time. So I think we're seeing this definite voice coming from, as we like to say, the people. You and I, as people, we're the second house of Nebraska. And we want to be able to be involved and have information in new ways. So I look forward to seeing hopefully some positive changes coming from everybody. All right, so this is my favorite part that we've been gearing up for. One of the poll questions we asked to the LD2 residents was, what do they need? What would you like to know about Jayden before casting your vote? And we pulled out 3 really good answers. So Jayden, these are questions to you from your constituents. So the first one is, what is your experience working across the aisle, especially when in difference?
Yeah, so I'm going to start off by talking about the importance of our nonpartisan unicameral. I'm somebody that really admires what George Norris set out to do in Nebraska. He was a Republican for a time. He was an independent for a time. I think he was even aligned with the Democrats with President Roosevelt at a time. But what he wanted for the legislature is an institution that's not going to be split among partisan factions, that's going to work together. And they were able to do that for quite some time. But it seems that we've seen kind of this degradation of the legislature as an institution where folks have kind of gone in their 2 camps and they're really set in their ways and they're really set that they're not going to work together. And I think that's just sad. So I think we have to get back to what the unicameral is meant to be as a nonpartisan body, where you and I might disagree on issue A, but if we can come together on issue B and deliver for Nebraskans, then we really should. So that's the mindset that I'm coming into this race with and that I come into the legislature with. The work that we've been doing in Cass County and in District 2 hasn't been overtly partisan. It's been, how are we going to improve the lives of Nebraskans? Like I said, when we had the recall election, the majority of our signatures came from registered Republicans. The majority of our votes came from registered Republicans. And we've found a way to talk to folks and to build coalitions around these shared values. So if we can do that in the legislature and we can come together and say, this is how we're going to improve the lives of Nebraskans, then we should do that to live up to the vision of Norris and what the unicameral is meant to be.
Great example. All right, next question that you were asked. If elected, what is a priority bill topic you plan to support?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that are at the forefront of my mind right now. One of those things is we're seeing the new tax commission that came out of LB 303 to review school finance and property tax and how we can kind of bring solutions to that issue. So I'm interested to see what recommendations that commission makes, and if we can find a legislative solution to reducing property taxes and fully funding our public schools. That's something day one that I'm going to look at. Additionally, I think we have to look at, are there ways that we can expend funds in Nebraska to support farmers? We have kind of this farm crisis that we're slowly falling into, where if you saw our GDP report for this year, which is a measure of Nebraska's economy, in the first quarter of 2025, we lost 6% of our economy, and that was primarily due to the fact that our farmers are struggling. So we can find a way to provide grant funds, or we can find a way to provide a little bit of assistance or property tax reductions or credits to kind of stabilize our family farms in Nebraska. That's something that I think is really important to my district and that we should start looking at.
Okay, very good. All right, next question. What is your plan to actually get things done considering the political climate today?
Yeah, so similar to our discussion with the first question, and we're really in this time now in Nebraska where it seems like we're just butting heads and nobody can work together.
Mhm.
It seems like the governor and his party have built this kind of politics where either you fall in line with what they're trying to do or they'll knock you out. So I think that's sad. I think the factionalism is sad. I think we have to get back to the fact that we have a nonpartisan unicameral that's supposed to be citizen-led, that's supposed to listen to the people. So that's something that's really important to me. And I think that if we start in 2026 with getting some new folks in office, getting some folks that are really committed to that as their value and not committed to their own political agenda or partisan agenda or personal agenda, that we can really get back to working together and making Nebraska better for all people.
Thank you so very much. All right. Well, Jayden, as we mentioned, those last three questions came directly from your constituents. So thank you to everybody who submitted questions. And certainly thank you to Jayden for coming on board this morning and visiting with us, answering your people's questions in a way that they truly know you're listening. So if you have not already, if you'd like to go to pollthevote.com and create your free real individual voter account, again, it's free. We do not sell your identifiable data. That's not who we want to be. We want to be a platform that enables you to connect right to your elected officials and candidates for office. Jayden, last comments from you. Any thoughts or things you want your constituents to know?
Yeah, so we'll just share. We're on Poll the Vote site at speedfornebraska.com. We're on most social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And if you ever have any questions that you want to send directly to me, any concerns, any things you want to speak to me about, my email is on our website. It's just Jayden@speedfornebraska.com.
All right, well, perfect. Well, welcome to the platform. Thank you so much for being our first candidate and for joining me here on this Saturday morning. Good luck to you, Jayden.
Yeah, thank you. I've been really happy to speak to folks here.
Perfect.